Okay, today's lessons is on Skybox and Cubemap. So, the thing about Skybox is it's a environment cube that is being used in game development. We use it for environment, and this is to help create a level that looks vast, looks big. So, in Maya itself, this is how it's gonna look like. So as you can tell, I'm inside a cube, so as to speak. Now there are some ways we use cube or skybox in a lot of cases, be it for games or be it for other kinds of projects. It's efficient, and which is why we use it. Now, as I have mentioned earlier, there are many ways to generate skyboxes. There are also applications out there that helps to create that. But in today's lesson, we are going to create a skybox manually through Maya and Photoshop. So first of all, I will explain on the ideas and how to really visualize when we create a skybox. So first of all, I am going to open up this file and take a look at this. Now, originally, I have a cube like this. Okay, everybody recognize this as a cube, and this is in fact how we create a skybox, by creating a cube. And the next thing on ideas of a skybox is because we need to create a map for it. This map is usually called a cube map. Okay, a cube map is a texture that is based on the 6 sides, and because we had to in mapping itself, we need to really paint in such a way that the sides do match up, that we do not create seams, and which is why some of the ideas when we unfold our UVs or unwrap our UVs, we need to really visualize how the textures will look like in our mind, or in the forms of 3D geometry. So the first thing is what I usually look for is the top right corner where we have our view cube in Maya, where it says top, front, right, back, and bottom. Now, this is to give us a general idea on how we look at our cube. We can unfold the cube in any way we like, but this is a good reference guide to know really which face of the cube is being represented. So in this case, this cube, I'm just gonna name this guy Skybox. Alright. When we look at Skybox, in its unfolded geometry, it's gonna look like this, right? So when we make comparisons between our unfolded version, the original state, and our view cube, sorry, just to really go back, if you're not seeing the view cube, two things. First of all, make sure your renderer is in default quality rendering, because if it is in viewport 2.0, you're not gonna see it. You're only gonna see it, I think, in high quality. Yeah, okay, high quality and default quality rendering. All right. And if you're still not seeing it, you can go over to display, heads up display, view cube. Alright, this is where you can display your toggle your view cube. Alright, back to where we are. So when I look at this, this face here will be my back, okay, according to my view cube. And this will be my bottom, front, top, left, and right. Okay, so this is the idea of unfolding our cubes to represent the 6 sides and unfold it in such a way that it is based on a 2D surface. Alright, so first of all, we are going to unwrap our skybox. So we are going to Window, UV Texture Editor. Now by default you're gonna get this, and in creating cube maps there are in fact many ways, like I have mentioned. One way is to lay out in such a way. There are also other more commonly known visuals which I will show you later. And the last way is of course to create individual face, meaning each UV face would really contain within this space. So first of all, we are going to unwrap these UVs according to a much more commonly known visual. Alright, the T shape, but it's in the small caps. So looking at this, the quick way to unwrap this, since we know that it is based on the sides, and also it's a good way generally to understand unfolding according to the shape that I have shown in this instance, unfolding into this way. So looking at this, first of all I would unitize it. Now unitize would essentially turn every face and contain within the 0 to 1 UV space. So I hit unitize, and as you can tell, my UVs has been turned into a single piece, okay, individual piece containing within this UV space. So what I can do is, for example, like I've mentioned before, you can unwrap in any way you like, but I am gonna start from my back in this instance. So I select the face on my back, and immediately in my UV texture editor I'm gonna see this highlights, and I am going to right mouse click and hold. Alright, I'm gonna see UV, select UV, and then I marquee select to make the selection. Hit my W key to move it across. Okay, this allows me to select only select the UVs only on the selected face. Alright, so that would be easy. And since I have my back, again based on what I am going to demonstrate, I'm just going to select my bottom. Do the same thing, right mouse click and hold, select UV, left mouse click to select the UVs and move it out. I'm just gonna put it close to each other first. Okay, so as you can tell, what I'm doing is really selecting the face based on the view cube itself and placing them according to the sides of the cube. So I'm selecting the front face, again select the UVs and move it out. Okay, so a little bit too close, move it out. Okay, so the last one will be my top, right? Top, select and move it out. And now I'm left with my sides. So I need to select the first of all my right sides. Okay. Rights can be either one. It's up to you. It's just one of the sides. And let's say I just move it technically here, the side, and of course my left. I'm just gonna move it up there. Now at this point of time, I'm not gonna do anything yet, because when we look at this, we are really unwrapping from the back to the top. So in fact, there will be a seam between this end here to the other end, and then I will have my left and right. Alright. So the next thing that you need to understand is the idea pertaining to the shape of my UVs. Now I'm just gonna switch over to Photoshop and really guide you real quick on what we have right now. So looking at this image here, we have our back, bottom, front, top, left and right. It's how we have unwrapped our UVs, or generally unfolded our cube in such a way. Okay. Now when it comes to mapping, right? When it comes to mapping, we need to think about this. If this is a cube and I were to map a texture on it, a sky texture or a land texture or whatever texture it is, and if I want to map it on this way, I need to understand that the sides here, okay, between this side, this edge here and this edge, they need to match. Okay, likewise this edge and this edge, they need to match. Okay, and so on and so forth. Okay, this is for the sides. And then we have the top, whereby the top face will need to match up with three others, which is the opposing back face, the left and the right face. Okay, the edges needs to match up so that we can create a seamless texture for our skybox. And as much as it is, if you want to do it again manually, it's not going to be perfect. Again, if you want to do it manually, it would be great if you have 3D paint softwares like Mudbox or ZBrush or some other 3D paint softwares. Alright, so you need to understand the entire or the idea based on this image, how we can map it correctly. Alright, so understanding this, we need to go back to Maya now and look at our UV. And looking at our UVs, we need to make sure that all of this match up together. So first of all, I'm going to select the edge between the back and the bottom. Okay, the back and the bottom. So I'm selecting this edge, which is essentially this edge. Now, when I select this edge, you can tell that immediately in my UV texture editor, it's highlighting two edges, which is really on the opposite sides. This is telling me that they are not facing each other, meaning they are not matching. This is facing upwards, this is facing downwards, so we need to make sure that they are facing each other. So in this case, go to UVs, and of course you can move UV shelf to. This will allow us to select the individual UV parts. Alright, so earlier on, this face here, which is my back face UVs, the edge here is upwards, and I need to really face it that way. So I need to rotate it anti-clockwise. Alright. So the next one is my bottom, and my bottom face, this edge should be facing that way. So I need to again rotate it. So after doing the necessary rotations, I am going to select my edge again between my back and bottom to double check. So click on it, and now they are facing the right way. Okay, they are facing each other, so that is great. And we need to do it on the rest of the edges. Alright, so let me just move this back in again. So the next one that I need to choose is my bottom and front, this edge here. And my front face, I need to again rotate it to face that way. So select my UVs, rotate it, and double check. Front and back facing the same way, and we'll move on to the top and front, which is this. So again, select the UV shell, rotate it, double check. Alright, and the next is bottom right. Okay, for bottom right and bottom left, earlier on I put it according to what I feel is right and what I feel is left. Okay, so in this case, when I select bottom and right, okay, the edge, it's showing me they are facing at the opposite side. So let me check on bottom and left. Okay, again, it's facing the opposite side. So this is telling me that I need to move my UVs, switch it around. Alright, so let me double check again. Bottom right, okay, they are facing the right way, and let me check bottom left. Okay, bottom left, this is not facing the right way, and I will need to rotate it to fit it accordingly. So select the UV shell and rotate twice and rotate twice again. So double check my edge here, so it's facing the right way. Great. Now, even though we can tell that the edges Now, even though we can tell that edges are facing the right way, we also need to know whether if the UVs are facing the right way. Okay, so if we were to go into our UV of our cube, if I select this 3 points needs to match, right? So technically speaking, other than just checking on your edges, you need to check on your UVs, because for an example, okay, I'm just gonna select this guy and I will flip it. Now when we look at edges, this would be back and bottom. Okay, so if we were to look at this, the edges are correct, right? But if we were to switch to our UVs, you can tell that 2 of the UVs are here and 1 UV is here at the opposing side. So this is telling us that the UVs is not correct. It needs to be flipped. Alright? So do be very careful when you are unwrapping your UVs. They may look correct, but in fact you need to check based on the edge and the UV points, alright, to make sure they are really correct. So the next thing that I will do is to select, which is, oh, okay, I need to turn this off. Okay. The next thing that I need to do is to, oops, is this the one? Yeah. Is I need to select the edges. Alright. Select the edges, go to polygons, and I am going to move and sew UV edges. Now some of you might ask, why don't we just use these sew UV edges? We can click and take a look. Now once we click on that, yes, the edges are sewed, but if you look at this, the lines are not straight anymore. Okay, it's not aligned correctly. This is because sew UV edges will simply tell Maya that we are just going to average the distance between each of our edge and just sew it accordingly. That is not what we want. So we are going to polygons, move and sew UV edges. This will allow the UVs to move as a whole and sew it together as one. Alright, so the next thing that we want to do is to scale it, okay, because we need to fit it within our 0 to 1 UV space. And again, do remember that our UVs needs to stay within this 0 to 1 space. Alright, the next thing that we want to do is, since we have already know this is how our UV is gonna look like, we can either take a UV snapshot and create based on the square map. But most of the time when we do create a cube map, it's really based on a weird resolution, as and I'm just gonna show you real quick. Now in Photoshop, I've opened up this file. This is generally how it's gonna look like. Right, this is how a cube map is gonna look like. It's gonna be from edge to edge, and of course we have spoke about how we really need to make our maps a square shape or in a power of 2, but at times we can also make different combinations of power of 2s, for example like 1024 by 512, instead of really constrain ourselves to 1024 by 1024. So let's say 1024 by 512 will give you kind of an elongated shape, right? So this is still allowed in any kind of game development process. Alright, so the next thing that we are going to do is to create a skybox. And this wallpaper, this sky paper, sky texture that is I don't download it from online. And the thing with creating a skybox based on the shape of our UVs, one thing to take note is you need to really have a really high resolution map, right? And the next step that I'm going to teach you guys is also partly based on a tutorial that was found online. It's by the Kami. It's from the interlopers.net. I'll put up the website and in the YouTube information. You can always take a look at that. Alright, so the next thing that we are going to look at is the resolution of our map. We need to get really high as possible. If you can get a 10K by 5K would even be great. And this is because that skyboxes are generally big, so if your textures are gonna be small, it's gonna look pixelated when we project onto a skybox. So looking at it, okay, the first thing that we are going to do is to bring on our grid. Okay, so you can toggle your guide like this. Okay. Okay. Okay, so this will give you this will toggle your grid for you immediately. Okay, as I'm running two softwares at this moment, it's gonna take a little hard on my computer, so just bear with me if it gets a little laggy. Alright, so once we toggle our guide or our grid, this is by default Photoshop's distribution of its grid, and we need to manually change the grid size of it to fit into our power of 2 resolution. So where do we do that? We can go into Edit, Preferences, Guides, Grid and Slices. So click on that, and we are gonna look at grid. Okay. Right now it's gonna say grid every 2 centimeters. We're gonna change this to 2 pixels. Okay, so right now it's gonna say grid line every 1 pixel. And of course that's not what we want. We want to have our grids based on the power of 2. So I'm gonna change it to 1024. Right? I hit enter, and Photoshop is not gonna allow me to do that because its maximum is at 1000. Okay, so I'm gonna drop it to 512. Okay, seems pretty reasonable. Click OK, and we're gonna see our grids change to what we want. So the next thing that we need to look at is whether if 512 will fit our needs. So I'm just gonna get my marquee tool and just do a quick selection. Now 512 is definitely gonna fit into our 4 squares plus the left and right. Right? This is how our UV Unwrap looks like. Just to show you really quickly. All right. So this is how our Unwrap looks like in Maya, and it's definitely gonna show up. But the problem is we have a lot of unused space, and 512 will definitely look kind of small when projected, since a skybox is really big, much bigger than the character running around. So what we want to do is really utilize our map. So this is not gonna work. We're gonna trash it away and look at 1024. Now 1024 is not gonna work since we can only have 1, 2, 3 squares across, and we have really 4 squares. Okay, that would be our back, bottom, front, and top. So this is not gonna work either. So the best way, or the other value that is in the power of 2 that we need to focus on, or which usually isn't really recorded or really remembered by artists that just started with their 3D texture work. is 768. Okay, this is the other magic number that we used. Okay, 768. So when we look at 768, okay, I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oops. And I have also my left and right. Okay. So looking at this, I will be able to fully utilize the map. Right? So I'm just gonna create a color just to look at it. Okay. Now, personally, I do not really like to create maps based on edges. Okay, one of the things in Maya because it bleeds. So generally, I would always move it out and put it somewhere where it's really centralized within my texture map. Alright. So in this case, my purple color fill, this will be my reference point of guide of to where my squares are. Okay. Or if you are still kind of unclear and this is looking a little confusing, one way is to, let me do a quick one. Create each square. Okay, this is my adjustment layer. Create a solid color. Okay, this is my first one, my first square. My second square, which is my bottom. Create another adjustment layer, solid color. Change its color. Okay. One more. Now this might help some of you that are having trouble trying to think which is my front, which is my top, or which is my bottom. And to me, personally, this is one of the easier way to remember. It's based on different color codes. Okay, so right now I have my bottom. This is my back, front, top, left and right. And what I'm going to do is to select all of this. Okay, put it within a folder. Okay, and right now I can move them. Okay, and centralize it. Okay, according to the grids. So right now I have this. I can lower down my opacity. Okay, and double click on my background to set it as a layer. And of course, always name your layers, and I would definitely name these guys as well, be it left or right. I think this guy would be right. Oops. Right, and left. Okay, so I have named all my layers. This will tell me exactly what they do. Okay, so the next thing that I need to do is really to copy and paste what's needed. So generally speaking, this across, well, we do not need to change anything except for the edges. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is maybe we can start with one of the sides here, one of the edge here. So as you can tell from my visualization, the two sides needs to match. So I can always make a selection. Okay, so I'm just gonna select this side. Okay, based on my background. Control C to copy the selection, and paste it. Control V to paste it in a new layer. Okay, so if I were to move my new layer, I can tell that there is something, but because we need to kind of mirror it across, okay, because we need the sides to match up. So if, let's say, I were to edit transform and flip horizontal and move it across to the next square. Okay, snap it in, and you can tell that this is in fact a mirror image. Alright, so with this mirror image, if I were to move it down, this is not gonna match up, okay, because you have to visualize this being folded back into a cube. So in this case, I will need to rotate it. You can edit, transform, rotate, or simply hit Ctrl T and rotate that. So when this is rotated, when I visualize it, this should match up. But when we look at this, the other edges, particularly the front and the top, this is not adding up, so we need to change this. So we can control click within the icon here to get a selection and hit on our mask. Alright, and make sure that you are selecting the mask and hit brush. Okay, brush, and I gotta make sure that it's a soft brush, and I am just going to paint, make sure that it's black so that I'm painting away what is not needed. So as I am painting away, what I am trying to do is, perhaps this would be a better way. Now generally what I'm painting is I want to paint based on this shape. Okay, this is the shape that I want to paint on. Okay, this is how, in fact, when we create a real box in the real life, this is how it's going to look like. So this is how I want to paint my layer on, of course, both sides, and if it's at the top or the back, I need to paint it on all three sides of it. Okay, but generally this is the shape, so that the end here will not interfere with my image on the next square. Okay, it will still flow a little bit nicely. Okay, so click on, I'm just gonna delete away this layer, select my mask. Okay, so I'm just gonna do this from the point here, corner to corner. Okay, and again corner to corner. And of course, if you want to have a little connection, that's always fine. Okay, just try to make it a little subtle. Okay, so now that this is flowing, this is connecting, and at the same time, when this is folded up, this will be connecting. Alright, So the next thing is select my background again, and this time I'm going to select the opposite side. Okay. Control C to copy, Control V to paste it on the new layer. Okay. And again, I'm going to edit, transform, flip horizontal, move it across. Okay. And of course, this time around, I will need to rotate it this way. Okay. So again, control click on the icon to make the selection, hit my mask and paint it accordingly. And this time around I need to maybe turn on my bigger brush. Okay, and use a smaller brush to make the necessary adjustment from this corner and this corner. Alright, so this and the edge here is gonna connect, and at the same time this doing the necessary connections. Okay, so I will do the same for the opposite side. So again, copy my background, paste it, flip horizontal, move it across. This should be a mirror image, and rotate it. Alright, control click, add a mask, and paint a mask. Alright, should be fairly easy. Again, select, okay, copy, paste, control click, sorry, just gonna move it up first. Okay. Okay, so make sure to flip horizontal. Alright. And control click, create a mask, create a mask, and paint the mask away. And you can also create some random paintings across, just to soften it up or to create an illusion that it's really connecting. Okay, so I have done it for both my front and back. The next thing that I need to do it is for this side. Now this side here, if I would look at my visualization, okay, so this edge here, this red color needs to fit on this. Okay, likewise the purple fits on the purple, and the green here will fit on the green there. Oops, sorry. So in my skybox, when I look at this, I need to copy this. Okay. And this time around, if I want to move it across, sorry. Okay. I need to flip it vertically. Okay, so this is because I need to mirror image this side of my image. So once I flip it vertically, I will move it down to my top. But since this is at the opposite side, I will need to rotate it to make it face correctly 180 degrees. And if I were to look at this, okay, if I were to look at this image and my top side, my top square and my right square, it doesn't look like it's matching. The thing is, you need to really visualize it in such a way that when this thing flips over, okay, it means this entire piece is flipped. It will match up to the sides. Alright, so again, I'm just gonna control click, create a mask, and pin this off. Alright, so the next thing is this guy here. Face flipped vertical. Okay, move it here and rotate it around again 180 degrees. Okay, create a mask, start painting it. Alright. Now this is only for the left and right. We also have to deal with our back. This edger needs to match up with the edger, opposite edge. So again, you can pin it according. You can even make the changes on this square instead if you want to, like copying this entire one and copying across. But I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna make all the changes on the last cube. Sorry, on the last face. So I'm just gonna select this, and you can really do it based on whatever that you feel comfortable with. Okay, so for this one, I'm just gonna flip horizontal. So flip horizontal and move it across. Right? And for this one, since it's flipped horizontal, I don't really need to do anything else. Create the mask and paint this off. Okay, and again, make sure corner to corner. Again, this might be a better way if you to zoom in and do it, but I'm just gonna do a generic one. Alright, so now I have this entire map. This I'll just put it in this. Just gonna call this color square reference. Cubemap. Alright, so we are gonna get something like this. Right? Again, because of our background, this is gonna be difficult to tell where our map is sitting on. So at this point of time, what we can do is control click all these squares in our color square reference, right? And one of the things, sorry, before we even do that, we need to create a new copy of our map that has been painted with our mask. Okay. Make a copy and hit Ctrl E to merge that. Okay. Now, with the copied or painted surface, if you were to look at this, okay, this is our painted surface. Okay, I am going to create an extra because this tool needs to be merged as well. Okay, so I will have this entire piece here. So right now, what I need to do again is to make the selection based on the cube shape. Alright. Okay. And I will copy this and create a new file for it. Okay. So this is how it's going to look like. And I am going into adjustment layer, create a solid color, and I will base on the closest color available. Okay. And save this image. Just gonna call it Cubemap 3. Save it. And I'm gonna save it as Targa 24 bits. Now going back into Maya. Alright, I will assign a new texture, assign a new material by right mouse hold on my geometry, assign new material. Okay. And I should be able to see my Lambert 1. Sorry, I should not be seeing Lambert 1. Let me go into my hypershade. Okay, so when I right mouse hold, assign a new material, I should see this dialog box, assign new material. Click on Lambert, I should see a new shader being assigned. I'm just going to call this guy the Skybox Shader. Okay, so in my color, click on color, the checker box, select file, and really select my Cubemap 3, and if this is not showing, again click on the sample itself so that it will show up. Alright, and I hit number 6 for texture preview. Of course this is not going to look correct. Now if you remember, what we did in Photoshop is kind of elongated. Okay, this is a elongated resolution. So in this sense, in our texture editor, this is based on a square. Alright. So in order to make it look correct, we can go to image. Okay, in your UV texture editor, image, use image ratio. And now if turning on your use image ratio is not working, then I will suggest that you go back to Photoshop and create a square map instead. Because this I'm not entirely sure, but use image ratio can be a little flaky. You're supposed to use your image resolution and resize it within the UV texture editor and to redisplay it. So in this case, if it is not doing that, you'll need to adjust in your Photoshop. Okay, Photoshop. And let's see. just gonna go into image, canvas size, all the pixels, make sure my width and height is the same. Alright, and save it again. So I'm just gonna call it 4. Okay, go back to Photoshop. And Skybox Shader. Going back to 4. Okay. So I have a kind of centralized in such a way, and I can just move the UVs accordingly. Okay. And if I need to rescale it, I can. So just kind of fine-tune it to what you want, and we should be able to get a generally satisfied kind of image. Now if you see something like this, simply means that we probably need to scale this down a little bit. Okay, and that might be too much. Now this is because of the bleeding effects. And of course, some might say that it will be a lot easier if I would have do a UV snapshot and pin this. But there are different ways of doing, of course. So if I look at this, it should have a nice mirror image. Okay, nice mirror image. Mirror image. So the ones on the top and the bottom. And just to make things in Maya itself, because right now if I were to look at this, it's really quite distinct. So what you can do is to crank up the ambient color. You can see it better in Viewport 2.0, but again you're gonna see this awkward shading, and this is because it's based on the normals. So you can go ahead and select your geometry, go to normals, soften edge. Alright, so that way it will kind of blend nicely. Okay. Alright, so that's how you create a skybox, and I hope you understand these lessons. Thank you.